That night in Lagos was like no other. The moon hid behind dark clouds. The wind rose like a furious spirit, and silence filled the air. In that uncompleted building, that's Chief's dungeon, little Emeka lay weak, he lay hungry, he was close to fainting. His lips were dry, his stomach was empty, his body covered in dust. Then suddenly, a massive wind began to blow. It was the same night his mother shouted, Anyamo, the same night her sight disappeared. The wind shook the trees, rattled the doors, and lifted the zinc roof of the dungeon. A sheet of iron flapped open with a loud noise. Emeka raised his head, his weak hands trembling. With all the strength he had left, he crawled towards the opening. His ribs pressed against the floor, his knees scraped, but he did not stop. Slowly, painfully, he slipped out into the night. He staggered into the bush path barefoot, a ghost like figure vanishing into the darkness. Now, that was how the boy escaped. Now, in the village, the time Mama Nwachuku sat at Chief's gate, mumbling, those words to someone only she could see, she was truly pointing at him. Who? Chief. Chief's wealth was not clean. His secret was known only by spirits. Every young girl he slept with never lived long. They passed in strange accidents, sickness, or just silence. Their lives became the sacrifices that fed his riches. People whispered, but no one dared speak aloud. Chief was feared. His money bought silence. But destiny was preparing to break that silence. The first one came in a board meeting. Chief sat with foreign investors, in a glass office in Victoria Island, Lagos. Papers were spread on the table. Contracts worth millions were about to be signed. But suddenly, his hands froze, his pen dropped, his eyes widened. Chinyere! He shouted, pointing at the corner. Stop following me. Stop following me. I told you, I will take care of you. Don't touch me. And this is what Chief was saying. In a board meeting, the investors looked at each other. One man whispered, is he okay? Another gathered his files and stood. There was panic. But Chief kept screaming, sweat pouring down his face. Leave me alone. I didn't kill you. I didn't. The meeting scattered. The investors, they pulled back their offers. News began to spread. The mighty chief was losing his mind. That was only the beginning. In the middle of a church service, Chief stood up and screamed, Ngozi, don't drag me to the grave with you. The congregation, they fled. They scattered. At home, he would shout the names of boys and men who had mysteriously vanished after crossing him in business. His family began to fear him. His guards whispered about leaving. Can you actually work for that kind of person? You would have your reservations. Chief's empire was shaking. But while Chief was crumbling, Emeka was healing. In the US, Dr. Tolani treated him like her own blood. She fed him, clothed him, enrolled him in a special school. He learned to read, he learned to write, but he remained mute. Emeka lost his voice. Emeka became dumb. Not a sound came out of his mouth. For 10 years, silence sat heavy on him. But Tolani, that's the doctor, she never gave up. Every night, she knelt by his bed. She prayed and whispered. She called him Life. She had a special name for him. She would whisper, Life, God will make you whole again someday. And she kept on praying for Emeka. Then one rainy evening, destiny came knocking. Emeka sat at the table, pen in hand, staring into space, nothingness. Tolani sat opposite him. She was marking her hospital notes. The rain tapped the window, it was quiet. The room was quiet. But suddenly, Emeka dropped his pen. He lifted his head, his eyes meeting hers. His lips trembled. Then a dry, cracked voice broke in silence. What? What did you just say? She whispered. Tears was gathering in her eyes. He said, My name is Emeka. She was like, Emeka Nwachukwu. I'm from Umudike village. Her hands shook as she stood up. Slowly, she walked to him, knelt and held his face. She said, Say it again, please, just say it again. Tears rolled down his cheeks, and he said it in Igbo. He said, Ahambu Emeka, my name is Emeka. Tolani burst into tears, hugging him tight. It was tears of joy, crying into his shoulders. And for hours, he told her everything. He told about the dungeon, the missing key, the robbery, his escape, his parents, just everything. But each word cut Dr. Tolani like a knife. She wrote them down, and her heart was breaking. That night, for the first time in 10 years, Emeka slept peacefully. While Emeka found his voice, Chief's life kept falling apart. One day, his container sank at sea, millions gone. Another week, fire gutted his largest plaza. Another time, fraudsters promised him triple returns and wiped his accounts clean. Everywhere Chief turned, disaster followed him. His friends abandoned him. His enemies mocked him. His nights were sleepless. Shadows followed him. Voices haunted him. His health collapsed. The man who once threw mint naira, in the air, was now a shadow of himself. Back in Umudike, something else was happening. The Nwachukwus, that's Emeka's dad and his wife, that's Emeka's mom, once mocked as the poorest family, suddenly had a harvest so abundant it shook the land. Their cassava was carried in vans into other states. Their name spread in markets. Even though Mama was blind, and Papa was half paralyzed, they were celebrated. They were the new village celebrities. God has remembered this family, the villagers said. Then came the day Chief collapsed from high blood pressure. He was rushed to a Lagos hospital. Now, by fate, Dr. Tolani was visiting from the US. When Chief opened his eyes and saw her, he screamed, No, it's you again. Forgive me, forgive me. The nurses panicked and ran out. But only Dr. Tolani remained. Chief grabbed her hand, crying like a child. In a trance, he confessed. He confessed everything. He told her of a beautiful Yoruba nursing student he once met. He fell in love with her, but he deceived her. He told her how he promised her marriage, how he used her, then beat her when she said she was pregnant. And she ran barefoot into the night. She passed while giving birth to a girl. And that girl is you, he whispered to Dr. Tolani. Tolani's heart pounded so fast. She had grown up in an orphanage, never knowing her parents. But now this wicked man, the ritualist billionaire, was her father? It was hard for her to take in. Chief looked at Dr. Tolani's forehead and trembled. The scar, the same place he once struck her mother with an iron, was now on her head. It tore him inside. So he asked her, he said, Do you have a picture of your mother? And then the next day, she brought an old photo from the orphanage records. Chief looked once and collapsed, screaming. Now, Emeka had finished his studies, with his degree in hand. He told Dr. Tolani, I want to go home. I want to see my parents. And together, they returned to Umudike. Their reunion was like a festival. When Emeka entered the compound, His blind mother touched his hands, her fingers trembling, and she cried, Nwamo, Nwamo, my son, you're back. His father, still weak on one side, he raised his good hand and shouted, Chinekena, you do well for me. The father was happy. Drums rolled, women danced, the whole village gathered. Tears and laughter mixed. But Chief was not there. His empire was gone, his name disgraced, his health fading. But Emeka's family stood strong together at last. So maybe money could buy power, could buy fear, could buy fame. But would it be the same for peace, love, or destiny? If you like the story, please subscribe, like, and share. And I'd also like to know your thoughts right there in the comment section. Thank you very much. We'll see us on the next story.